Hello, everyone. I'm John Higgins of the John Higgins Film Review YouTube channel, and I am delighted to welcome one and all to this interview special with faithful Fay Greaves, who is the star of the BBC's BAFTA and National Television Award-winning hit series The Traitors, and she's ready to welcome new challenges, I'm sure you all do, in 2024 with her trademark dedication and enthusiasm. Fay, warm welcome to you.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, so let's start off. I mean, how does one get to appear in The Traitors? What was the journey that you took?
Well, it was an interesting one, really, John, because I knew that I wanted to retire at 60, but not retire. I wanted to take a sideways step from education. I've been doing it for 30 years, working with the most challenging children in the country. And I just knew that there was something else that I needed to do for me. And I thought the time was right. The application dropped in the inbox. I had a look at it, and it was all sort of mysterious. It said you'd be going to the Highlands in Scotland. And I thought, oh my goodness, that sounds really good. I've never been to Scotland. You know, the thought of being in a castle, that was exciting on its own. And they didn't give too much away, but they did say that, are you good at lying and can you spot a liar? And I thought, well, I think with all the work I've done around education and life lived experiences, yes, I'd be very good at this. So I just filled the application in, and out of thousands of people, I was picked 22 people off to Scotland.
So
Yeah.
tell us about the process, because I know that in the X Factor, for example, or Britain's Got Talent, it's not the first thing you see on screen. So I'm just curious to know, how did the process work did you go into a big room with people? Were you whittled down? Were there any tricky questions
Oh, goodness me. You had all the auditions because we were just out, it was post-COVID, remember? You know, this was filmed in 2022. So everything was still very slow. And, we had to have tests, COVID tests to go in. So weeks leading up to it, we had to make sure we didn't catch COVID, because if we did, we wouldn't be put into the bubble. The 22 of us plus all the crew and other people. So we had to keep ourselves fairly healthy. I was running around with a mask the whole time, even though we didn't need to wear masks, but I had one on because I thought, oh my goodness, I don't really want to miss this opportunity. And then when we got to Scotland, we were just thrown in the first day together, and we had to introduce ourselves. We met each other on the train. Everybody saw the train journey. Have you watched The Traitors?
I haven't. I've know of the series. I know Claudia Winkleman hosts and stuff like that. So I'm
Yeah.
aware
So
that
we all were introduced with the train journey. That was the first time we'd met each other, and then the rest was there. And then the next point was us lining up outside the castle. And we didn't even know that Claudia was going to be the host of the show. We thought, who was it going to be? And when it was her, we all went, wow, how lucky are we? Because she is amazing. And then that was it. That was the game had started. We were in this line, and the first banishment was Amos and Kieran, just like that in the line. And we thought, oh my God, we've only just got here and we've lost two people already just because they stood in the wrong part of the line. So yeah,
that's weird. I mean,
there's no whittling down. The only people that whittle things down are the casting directors. They
right.
do it themselves. Yeah.
So tell us about the castle. What was that like? Because I mean, whereabouts is it situated? Is it a public place? I mean, where can people
Oh,
go?
it's a public castle. People get married there. So I would imagine now, because the success of Traitors, Studio Lambert have booked it out a certain month every year now for the next 3, 4 years, I would imagine. But people do get married there. It's a beautiful castle. And like I said, it's in the Highlands, so you really get to see the beauty of Inverness. Yeah.
I
Mm.
mean, it always conjures up the four weddings and a funeral, because of course that was one of the scenes where Charles and Carrie met, and there was, of course, the big wedding day between Carrie and her fiance at the time, played Corinne Redgrave. So let's talk a little bit about your career. I mean, you said, I understand that you recently concluded a 30-year career in education and working with children with social, economic, emotional, and mental health needs. Excuse me. So obviously, what are the life lessons that you've learned? What are the big things that you've learned over the years that you've been able to sort of think, well, I always use that as a guide whenever I'm in, as I go for you continue to go through your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to always, particularly working with the children that I work with, you always have to give them a chance. It's always about a second chance. And you can't just go on the things that you've read in their case history or their file, etc. And I think people are like that in general. And I think the Traitors was very similar. You know, what you see in people, you can't make quick judgments, really, even though we did, because as opposed to the intense environment we're in. But you have to look at people, you need to listen, you need to be reflective and give people an opportunity to, you know, be themselves. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've been reading up. I mean, obviously, female coaches are big in the news, of course, with Serena Wiegman doing the wonders for the women's Lionesses team. So, I mean, I'm just reading that you successfully coached and mentored young men in basketball, for example,
Yes.
often to achieve championship level. So,
Yes.
tell us a bit about your experience in basketball. I mean, what were obviously in terms of the age group, I mean, what did you find were the big successes in when you were coaching as in basketball?
Well, particularly, you know, when I was coaching these young lads who their self-esteem was low from the beginning anyway, because, you know, they came to my school for a second chance, basically, because mainstream schools couldn't meet their needs for whatever reasons. And they came to us for a second chance. And some of them were so talented. Honestly, you wouldn't believe it, John. You know, I could just see some of them had never picked a basketball up. They'd played lots of football, lots of different sports, but they'd never played basketball. And that was one of the reasons that got me to the school, really, because I went there to coach basketball, you know, initially. And they loved me so much that they employed me. The rest is history. I climbed up the ladder, and I gave the boys a lot of wonderful experiences. You know, they met the NBA players, you know, because I was connected with the NBA because of my love of basketball, traveling all over the USA, East and West. Met some lovely and influential people in the basketball world. And I was able to share that with the boys. So every time the NBA came over to London, we got an automatic invite to do a training session and tickets to watch the big matches. And some of our boys, like I said, they'd never picked a basketball up in their life, but became accomplished basketball players. Some of them played for National League, one played for England. I had some go away for big camps. It was just life-changing. And with that, I think that brought a massive bond between myself and all the boys that came to play basketball, because they came into the school. But when they heard we did basketball, that was a real selling point, because they said, I'm coming to this school because I like basketball. That's it. But that helped them in their education as well. They didn't realize that, because we had programs where if you weren't getting it right in class, you wouldn't be able to attend the basketball sessions in the morning, which would be all Thursday mornings. We'd have basketball. So we were running it like an American style educational system, where you get lots of sports, but you have to do your work at the same time. And that was really good, and that was beneficial. And it supported the teachers as well, because they had a bit of a carrot to in the dangle, you know, if the boys were getting it wrong. So yeah, we had great success. We won all the championships for special ed, and we even won a mainstream championship in 2001. We won the Year 9 championships playing mainstream schools, and that was a David and Goliath story. That was in the newspapers and everything, and the boys got treated to brand new tracksuits from all different people that wanted to just praise them for their achievements. But yeah, I've got a lot of pleasure out of basketball myself, and for me to be able to pass that on to these young men and give them something to value themselves with was incredible. Honestly, you couldn't buy it. You couldn't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I see a movie like a true story sports movie on what you've just told me. I can imagine a Rocky underdog thing, which is great. And I think also it'd be tremendous crossover for the American market because basketball is such a big thing. So following on from that, I found this quite interesting. You became a games maker for the London Olympics and you acted as team liaison officer for the Australian women's basketball team. I understand that they won the bronze that year in 2012. So tell us a bit about your Olympic experience. I mean, obviously, I mean, we all sat there on Super Saturday watching Bolt and Ennis and Farah doing the business. So, I mean, what was your own person?
Red Rutherford as
Yeah,
well. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So tell us a bit about your experience of the Olympics per se. I mean, how did you get involved with it? And I mean, obviously there were the volunteers and stuff, but at what point did you become involved? I mean, obviously we knew of the games coming to us in 2007, so it was a 5-year period. I mean, when did you become involved?
Yeah, as soon as I heard that we'd won the bid, that was it. I was on the computer. I remember it very clearly, typing away Olympics, Great Britain, and that was it. I filled my application, and that was a long process as well. It started off very small, but it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. They wanted more details as you got through to the next round, and I automatically put forward that I wanted to work with the basketball teams because it had which area do you feel you would be able to support. I put basketball, and once they'd heard of my history with basketball, they knew that I was connected to the NBA as well because I'd been over to the East Coast and spent a whole summer there, and then I did a couple of years later the West Coast. So I was familiar with the basketball setup, and also they knew that had been working with high profile clients. That was really important because to be team liaison, that meant you had to be with them 24/7, go with them, travel on their bus with them. You went to their changing room with them. They invited you out to events. I was their go-to person. So yeah, I was very lucky that I'd already been doing basketball for many years. So that was probably quite easy for them to pick the people that were then connected to those teams. And I got the Australian women's team, and it was amazing. They were fantastic, great. It was lovely. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when obviously winning a medal of any kind in the Olympics is good. I mean, what were the ladies like in the Australian women's team? I mean, were they? I mean, were there?
Oh, true professionals. They were true professionals. They were dedicated. They were a real good team. The team spirit was good, off the court as well. And, they'd invite me to do bits with them and say, why don't you come? We're going into London to Nike, because Nike had set up this huge hotel in London where all their sponsors, so some of the girls were sponsored by Nike personally for their professional teams. So they had events there. I mean, I think Reebok, Adidas, they all had their own events, but I got to go to a couple of the Nike ones, and they were just amazing. But like I said, the level of professionalism was incredible with the Australian women's team. Every free moment they had, even if they weren't supposed to be being coaching or training, they were just shooting hoops the whole time, doing their little ball drills. And yeah, it was great. It really was. It was just nice to be a part of it.
I can believe it. I mean, incredible. And I say the Olympic legacy certainly has sort of proved its worth. I mean, after all the speculation, I mean, it was great. I mean, I was in Trafalgar Square when they announced it. I remember how exciting it was, and everybody leapt there. Of course, a very poignant thing the day after because of what happened in London the day
It
after.
was 7-7,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I
Yes,
remember the contrast of it being so much because we were on cloud nine and then waking up
that's
the next
right.
day.
Yeah.
So getting back to more positive things and looking at your campaigning work, I understand as this year begins or continues, you are an ambassador for the NSPCC and Ripple Suicide Prevention. So, I mean, obviously, mental health at the moment is a big thing, and obviously, the welfare of children at the moment has been in the news for some very sad news things which I've seen recently. I mean, obviously, tell us a bit about how you got involved with that, and obviously tell us a bit more about what your immediate goals are as ambassador to these two organizations.
Yes, well, firstly, the NSPCC, I'm a campaigner for them mainly. I got involved with them through a friend of mine that knew somebody at the NSPC and said, God, Fay would be amazing. Went down, had a meeting with them. They loved me and said, yes, we'd love you on board. So naturally, it's all about children. I've worked with children for 30 years, so that aligned itself perfectly. The ambassador one for the Ripple, which I am an ambassador for them, and I wear their bracelet proudly everywhere I go, even when I'm going to my red carpet events, John. I've got this on. I think they're now designing some bling ones for me. Ripple is a very, very, oh my God, incredible charity. It's suicide prevention. Obviously, people can look it up, Ripple Suicide Prevention. And it came about because the CEO, Alice, lost her brother Josh to suicide, and she didn't know why he'd done it. Long story short, looking through all of his internet and his personal stuff on the laptops, etc., she found out that he was looking for ways to end his life, and she worked for cybersecurity all her life. That was her big thing. She designed things for the cyber webs, and she decided to come up with her own niche piece of equipment, that software, I should say, to go in all laptops that can divert people off to another place when they're feeling like that. So if you look it up on the computer, you're putting a word in there that's going to be really harmful to you, then if you've got this device fitted to your computer, it lets you freeze for a moment, tells you to take deep breaths. There is another way, and it directs you to other places. So it's been absolutely incredible. I think it's in 49 countries now, and lots of big organizations are getting involved or are involved. And I just think that should be a national thing. It should be everywhere. I really do. So I'm really passionate about that, because in my 30 years of working in education, I came across a lot of children with low mood, and you know, to me, it's a no-brainer. So I got involved with that. I'm also a ambassador for Lawrence Delalio. That's a recent one, which probably isn't out there yet. But I'm an ambassador for Lawrence Delalio's Rugby Works, and that's been working with, again, children that are finding it difficult at school, and they're trying to give them another way to focus all their emotions through rugby. And I now sit on the board of an SEMH provision, which is social, emotional, mental health, and it's called Elements, and they are based in Birmingham. And again, it's about me using my platform to support Elements. So I'm looking forward to that, and we're just getting started. We've just got the team together, and I host a podcast called The Uncut as well. So
Mm.
I'm
I
talking
was
to people as
that
well.
was going to be my next question, because I understand that you on this one, because obviously we've just had the BAFTAs,
Yeah.
which was the big event. I mean, obviously, tell us a bit about how the Uncut show differs, because it's a YouTube show. I mean, we're doing this on YouTube anyway. This is
Yeah.
going to be a YouTube release. I mean,
Mhm.
how does this show differ from other content like it? I mean, where do you feel that it sets itself apart?
Well, the Uncut is very new, so the platform's new, and we're trying to build up um, our followers, etc. And then, you know, it's difficult. You have to be doing it for a long time to get the recognition. But I just think it's quite nice. It's different because you've got the two hosts, Ramona and myself, were both from reality TV. So Ramona was on a program called Rise and Fall, another Studio Lambert reality TV, and I was from the Traitors. And she asked me to get involved. She wanted to do a podcast herself, and she just felt that it'd be great to get someone like myself involved because we can talk about everything between us. She's a businesswoman, lady boss they call her. So she does business. I'm education. I'm sports. I'm music. Hence the Radio Girls, which is my handle. So between this, we've got so much diverse stuff that we can talk about. And I think in time to come, we'll be able to pull a lot of high profile people. We had the first couple to get married on Love is Blind. So they got married last year on Love is Blind. We had them, we interviewed them just last week. It's just freshly been put out, I think, this week on YouTube. So, we're getting some high profile people. We've got a couple more in the bag as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
we've got to talk about your background. I understand you're of Caribbean heritage. And I mean, obviously, diversity and inclusivity are two big words alongside Me Too and the reaction to the patriarchy and virtue signaling, all this stuff like woke and everything. So I'm just curious to know, in terms of your own background, I mean, how does that shape your life? I mean, obviously, your family and your background. I mean, how does that continue to shape your life?
I'm very proud of my heritage, and I love my mum's from Jamaica, my dad's from Barbados, and only 2 weeks ago I was at the Bob Marley premiere with lots of other people. But it meant more, I felt, to me and anybody that was from Jamaica than anybody else, because that's Bob Marley. That's where he was born. My mother was born just up the road from him. So that was really emotional, just seeing what he went through and the message that he wanted to give to people, the one love message. And yeah, I think everybody should be proud of their heritage. And particularly my parents coming from the Windrush generation, they had it really hard. Trust me, coming over to England and trying to settle, and it wasn't easy. And they're my role models. They really are my role models because they worked so hard, John, to get to where they are now because they're both alive. And I thank them every day. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the Windrush thing, there, of course, the Windrush Monument that was unveiled in 2022 in the presence of the Prince and Princess of Wales, or they were the Duke and Duchess of
Yeah.
Cambridge at the time. Have you seen that? I mean, what do you think?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen
Oh,
that. No.
it's in Waterloo Station, literally near platform 18. It's a wonderful thing. They put together
I
this.
must look.
Yeah,
I
it's a
must.
wonderful. I mean, I was actually walking around town actually when they unveiled it, and I remember there being a big ceremony, and they had a whole morning of
Yes.
festivities. And the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge at the time, they were actually standing there. There was a really beautiful ceremony. And again, it's going back, of course, to Bob Marley. I mean, the new movie which has just opened, which is the latest of a long line of musical biopics. I mean, it's sort of fitting that
Hmm.
Marley has finally been done. I mean, there have been documentaries on Marley in the past, but it's, I think, the first dramatic one. So I've got two final questions for you before we wrap up. Obviously, there's a lot going on in your life. You're doing really well with various things and stuff. I mean, you've had a very eventful life and experience and stuff. I mean, obviously, where you are in your life at the moment, are there things on your ambition and dream that you kind of have never tried before, but which you would love to try?
Goodness me. Well, there's lots of things people say they want to do. I mean, I'm very lucky. I honestly, I manifest these things. I say I want to do this, and it happens. So I'm sure there's lots of things. I mean, I like songwriting is something that I'm really into. I like to dabble in songwriting. So why not write a song for a top artist? Wouldn't that be fantastic to have my own song produced by someone amazing? That would be good. And I still want to put SEMH children, that is my real dream and passion before anything else, is to put kids with social, emotional, mental health on a platform, John, because I think there's a lot of work we could do with some of those kids, and they are so talented, and people don't see that talent. And that's half the kids' problems. They're so talented that, ooh, that gets above them all, you know? And I think that's where we've got to look at. We need to work with those children, and that's something I am hoping to do in the future.
Okay, and my final question, I mean, obviously, what are you most proud of to date? What's the big thing that you, are there a couple of things that stand out for you, or a couple of life experiences that have sort of said, yes, this is the life I want, this is the life I have?
I think my partner, I've got a wonderful partner, and with her, anything can happen. All my dreams can come true. And I think that is, I'm very proud about that. She's a very intelligent and very measured person. And I think everybody needs one of her in your life because I'm very enthusiastic and I'm wanting to do things all the time. And I sometimes have to take a deep breath. So I'm very lucky that I've got Michelle. She is, yeah, a major part of why I'm so successful. I think getting my degree was a huge thing for me as well, because I've worked in education for 30 years. I left school, didn't leave with a lot because my mum wasn't very well when I was growing up. So school wasn't the main thing for me. But whilst on my job, I met some fantastic head teachers that said, Faye, you are so up there. You need to go and do your degree. Did that and passed with a first. So it's all those things. That for me was a major. Getting a first in my degree in psychodynamics was amazing. And you know, all the other things that's come along, like the traitors, the Olympics. I mean, there's just, you can't really put them in a order. They're just, that's what shaped me as a person. All of that has shaped me to who I am today.
Okay. Well, Faye, absolutely brilliant. I mean, congratulations on all you've done. I mean, you literally are a trailblazer on everything you do, and I hope that you continue to inspire people as time goes on. So
Yeah.
wrapping up, thank you very much, Faye. If you want to watch more interviews like this, please go to my YouTube channel, John Higgins Film Review. We've done quite a few over the years, and it's, of course, where we place content. You can read some of my reviews at filmandtvnow.com. I write regular reviews for that. And also, we launched last year our film resource website, whatmovie.co.uk. But on that note, please give a warm appreciation to Fay Greaves and all the stuff she's done. And on that note, thank you very much, Fay, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you for having me.